That's how we start. I start talking first.
Hmm.
Cool. What's up, y'all? I'm Leroy. That's Michael. We're the Retrying channel presented by Nerdy by Nature Productions. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe because we need you. We need all of you.
We need you.
We
There
need
we
you.
go.
I'm not too proud to beg. Who's that? Paul Abdul? I ain't too proud to beg. No, that was TLC.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember who did that. Anyway, if you're here, um, we're not going to talk about the team behind me, but just in case you're wondering, yes, I am a Boston fan. They played at night, drinking some Sam Adams or whatever goes in the Sam Adams glass goes Boston. And I'm here to tell you that I'm back on that narcotic. I believe that we will win tonight and we will be victorious in game 7 back at home. Now, if we lose, I will act like I never said that. But it
All
is
of
my
this is
team.
recorded, you know.
I know what you talk about. Fake news.
Okay.
Never said it. But anyway, we're here to talk about PlayStation Showcase. Me and
Hmm.
Michael have some thoughts, ideas. Michael has on a trader shirt for one of the best-selling consoles of all handhelds and is it a console?
It's a handheld.
Best-selling system of all, one of the best-selling systems.
They what do you mean traitorous shirt?
Sir, it's a Game Boy. We're talking PlayStation. You have a Nintendo shirt on. Sacrilegious.
I mean, I don't work for Sony.
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Friend of
Jim
the
Ryan,
show.
friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Jim Ryan. Hey,
Hmm.
come holler at your boy while we talk about your showcase. So let's start with this. What'd you think?
I have gone back and forth after seeing that showcase a few times. I even went back and watched previous showcases that Sony had done within like the last 2 to 3 years,
Oh wow.
just to get an idea of what to expect and what not to expect.
Okay.
And I have come to this conclusion. I think all the games they showed were fine, and I enjoyed a lot of them. But I think the fact that you called it a PlayStation showcase put an idea in my head and in other people's heads, right or wrong. It put an idea in my head of what I was going to expect. And with those expectations, I would say I was disappointed.
Okay.
And I can kind of boil it down, and we'll get into a deeper dive, but I can boil it down to this. I wasn't disappointed with what I was shown. I was disappointed with who showed it. Um,
Keep hold on. I'm gonna write that down because I really want to hear this. Hold on. Continue.
no, that's it. That's my overall feelings. I wasn't disappointed with what I was shown. I was disappointed with who showed it, and I can dive deeper into that whenever you are ready to do so.
Okay. So hold that thought. I really want to. I'm really interested in that.
Hmm.
If you had to give it a grade, what would you give it?
Out of what, A, B, C, D, F
If you want to
grades,
do yeah, let's do high let's do
letter grades,
yeah, let's do letter grades.
I give it a C.
Hmm.
Yeah, I give it a C.
Okay.
C to C minus.
C minus. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, what would have brought that grade up for you?
Knowing what I'm gonna get from more Sony first party studios.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I Sony, I talk about how much I love Xbox, and I do. I enjoy Game Pass, but I will
Hey,
fully,
you sold me on Game Pass.
yeah, I will fully admit that Sony first party studios are kicking the shit out of Microsoft in terms of having these curated single player experiences, whether it's Last of Us Part Two, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima,
Ratchet and
and
Clank,
even yeah, like even if you want to get even like the
Returnal.
kiddier stuff, Ratchet and Clank, that type of stuff. I mean, these single player experiences that are just killing it. And
Okay.
I think Microsoft has a few of them, but they don't have them like Sony.
Yeah. Okay.
And for a while, we knew what Sony was doing. We know that Spider-Man is coming fall.
Spider-Man
They
2.
said that Spider-Man
Yep.
2 is coming fall. We don't really know what the big first-party stuff is beyond that, and I thought that this PlayStation Showcase was going to show that. It didn't. It showed a bunch of stuff from other studios that are coming out. It showed a couple of first-party things, but I wanted to hear, like, we know. Well, I'll go ahead.
So, me and you talked after. So we talked about the showcase beforehand. We have a video if you want to go look at our predictions for what we thought was going to happen in this showcase. Um,
We were wrong.
what we're way wrong. You know what?
We were wrong.
I wish we were a channel that had clips and we could edit in that clip from Naomi Rapace
Hmm.
from Prometheus when she was like, "We were so wrong. We were wrong." That's the clip I want to play right now. We were so wrong because we
Hmm.
speculated. We were right about two things. No, three things.
Which were what?
We were right that Bungie was going to show their new thing.
Oh, sure.
We were right about uh, Konami's game, one of Konami's game, and we were right about Spider-Man. Other than that, we were so off base.
See, I don't
We
even count. I don't even count the Metal Gear or the Spider-Man because those were
really.
givens. I thought.
But
Well,
see,
because for me, the Metal Gear thing kept getting spoiled. So like, oh, that's coming.
to me, it wasn't spoiled because it was never official. It was always from someone. I have sources. It was never. And so let me dive into it from my point of view. I would give this grade as far as a showcase. I would give this showcase a B minus. I just like you, I wrestled back and forth. I was like, yeah. And I was like, no. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, no. And then we talked about this going into it. You said you were not going to look at anything that was going to come out. You weren't not going to be on social media. You were just going to work and then watch it after you got home.
Hmm.
I was on social media for work and I saw all the reveals, like all the stuff that this was coming out, this was coming out. Maybe that clouded my judgment a little bit, but I did enjoy the showcase. I enjoyed the presentation. I enjoyed that it didn't seem to slow down. It just hit you with game, game, game. It showed what you were going to what you were going to get on a PS5 and its peripherals, whether it's PSVR or the new Project Q. You got what Sony was going for it with. And the reason why I give it a B is kind of piggybacking off of what you said earlier, just not too long ago, but also what we talked about off air. You said part of the problem is the hype that was built up by different people who said this is going to be announced or this is leaked or all these different things. Sony never said the only thing we knew what was coming out that we knew was going to be in the showcase was Spider-Man 2. That's the only thing that was confirmed for the showcase. We were going to see gameplay.
That was confirmed. I didn't even know that was confirmed. I just assumed that was going to happen.
Yeah, so I believe that was confirmed. I could be mistaken. So, but that's it. Everything else, like we knew we were going to see something from the PSVR 2. We got some sales data that contradicts what Bloomberg and IGN reported that the PSVR 2 did as well as the original PSVR. I give it a B minus only because it wasn't that Sony came out and like hyped this thing up like a Summer's Game Fest. They were like, hey man, we got a showcase. Y'all want to watch it? It's an hour. And I felt like we built it up. And if you look at what it presented, these are the games that you should be excited to play on the PS5. I feel like it did that.
Or the Xbox. A lot
Here's
of
the
those
thing.
games will be on Microsoft's Xbox.
And we'll get to that too. But if here's the thing that Phil Spencer said, and I think if you look at it for with what Phil Spencer said, and you look at the showcase for what it did, Phil Spencer is saying we're not able to compete in that space when it comes to first party titles. And this isn't a fanboy saying it. This is the numbers. Xbox does not sell as well as PlayStation. They do not have the first party games as well as PlayStation. The numbers bear out. Microsoft is a third in this console generation after Nintendo and Sony. I agree with you that the first party titles that we were looking for were not presented. This was not the haymaker I thought it was going to be. I still believe those games are coming. I just think right now there has to be a space for those games to be presented, and this just wasn't the space for that. The big game that they want to get out in front of or get out in front of people was Spider-Man 2. And they didn't want anything to overshadow that. So that's how I looked at it. That's why I said I gave it a B minus. When you break it down by what this PlayStation Showcase did, I think it did an okay job. I don't think it was great by any miles. I don't think it was terrible. I know it underwhelmed a lot of people. I was a little underwhelmed, but when I look at what they were trying to do, they weren't trying to sell you a PS5.
I'm sorry, what?
They weren't. Here's the thing. This wasn't, to me, this wasn't trying to sell you a PS5.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because they're already selling PS5. This is to keep you buying $70 games on a PS5. In other words, this is to keep you in that ecosphere, because all of these games, they're like, hey, all of this is coming to PlayStation 5 and you already own one. So here's what's coming up next. It wasn't, to me, this wasn't the big pitch. Like, was it 2 years ago? The last one that they did, a PlayStation showcase, was it 2020 or was it 2021?
They did two of them in 2020 and they did two of them in 2021. Because or maybe one in 2021 and one in 2022.
Because this is 3 years into this life cycle of the console. Mm-hmm. They're now finally getting in the stores. I feel like they're not trying to sell you a PS5 with this one. They're trying to reinforce and trying to get you to say, hey, this is to tell you this is what's coming up on the PS5. And when you look at it, in my opinion, and you look at it with that perspective and that mindset, not bad. I think the Xbox showcase that's coming out in June, that is going to try to sell you a console that you can only play these games on Xbox. And I think they have to do that because, again, they're so far behind.
Well, that just goes against what you just said Phil Spencer said, is he's not worried about trying to sell you a console.
I think we caught Phil Spencer in a very honest moment, but I still think Microsoft as a whole is going to try to sell you maybe not just a console, but try to sell you Game Pass, because you did a good job of selling me Game Pass. Because I'm going to tell you right now, regardless of what Phil Spencer says, I want an Xbox to play Starfield. I do. And I will eventually find a way, whether it's on.
But what if you don't need an Xbox? What if you can do it through an app on your TV?
Or through a Steam
Deck. And you just need a controller.
Or through a Steam Deck. But here's the thing. That's what's Phil Spencer's, that's his ultimate goal, because we've talked about this before. Phil Spencer's playing a different game. I believe Microsoft wants to sell me a Xbox. But Phil Spencer's like, hey, man, I got to get in where I fit in. And if I can get you in the ecosphere while you have another platform, because I know you already probably have a PS5 and a Switch, then we go sell these Game Pass subscriptions. And I understand that. And that's why I said I think this was a different mindset, because here's the thing, and we can get into this. Part of the reason why I don't think they sold us in the first party titles, because we know they're coming, is because you know what they did have that they've never really done, that Microsoft does a better job, I think, and other games do a better job? Live service games. They showed 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They did, and that's where I think their focus was on this one, prepping you for the live service games that they have coming up. So where do you want to start? Live service?
I would say if that was the case, you need to show me gameplay of these live service games.
I agree.
Because we saw Marathon, a CG trailer. We saw Fair Games, a CG trailer. I don't know what the other two were.
Whatever Firewatch has coming up, and
Concord.
Yes,
that's a
CG trailer. Yes.
No. I'm sorry. I mean that is a multiplayer thing.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a live service. Yes.
Okay. We know that Sony invested a bunch of money. They were saying they were what, 60% of their revenue or something. I don't remember how it breaks down, but a lot of their revenue they were going to go into live service games, and that's fine. Yep. I need you to show me and not just show me these cool trailers, because the trailers look nice, but I mean, I don't know what that relates to, because I'm going back to
Anthem.
When we first saw the Redfall cinematic trailer, that looked interesting.
Yeah,
it's like just the cinematic trailer itself. It gave a cool perspective.
It gave you
that turned out to be a big nothing. Yeah, that gave us a big nothing overall.
Well, let's start with that. Live service games. We saw 4 of them. The first one we saw was Fair Games from Haven. What did you think? Because I did not think that's what it was. I thought it was something else. Do you know what I thought it was hyenas.
I keep hearing about this hyenas thing. I don't know what hyenas is.
Hyenas is so I subscribe to I forget I subscribed to something and it started showing up in my feeds and it
Okay.
started showing up in my queue for things I should be looking for in my Steam community library. And
Okay.
so hyenas, and I'm trying to pull it up right now. Um, hyenas is another live service game that's coming up. I'm trying to pull it up right now. It's supposed to come out. It's from. So I'm gonna pull up the Steam game, and I will do share screen. So yeah, so this is where I saw hyenas. So do you see the video?
Hmm.
So a lot of people thought this is what it was because at first this is what it reminded people of. Um, it's and hyenas is another extraction heist type shooter. Um, this is what I thought it was. I don't know if it's going to be good. I hope it's going to be good, but I'm going to be honest with you. The only shooters I really play are Destiny, Warframe, and The Division.
Hmm.
When it comes to these type of games, I saw Fair Game, and I was like, "Is I this is
Well, I mean, I don't. It's hard to tell because with the cinematic trailer, I think the cinematic trailer was cool. I think it was slick. I think it was visual. I'm excited that it comes from Jade Raymond, her studio Haven.
Mhm.
I think that's cool because Jade Raymond helped bring in the Assassin's Creed franchise to us. She was a producer on a bunch of those games.
Okay?
She worked on Google Stadia before that got shut down.
Oh,
Um, so there was a big game she was working on for them. That didn't happen. So I think it's cool. I like the idea of you stealing the whole idea of steal from the rich. I think that's a cool idea. And whatever that means, I think it looks like maybe it's 3-on-3, possibly
mhm.
3v3. I like the idea of it maybe being the weapons that they showed and the different type of obstacles they showed in the trailer of, oh, you can pick this up and use this as something to block bullets or something to
Mhm.
deflect other stuff. So I mean, if that is all in the game, that seems cool. But again, the trailer did get me hyped, but I'm not the biggest games as service
It
person.
wasn't for
So
you. Yeah.
right,
And if Sony's diverting, as you said, 60% of its revenue
I think
towards it.
that's what it was. I don't know what it was.
So if they're let's say this, if they're diverting a huge swath of their resources to live service games, that's money saved for you.
Sure.
Because let's run down the list. Fair Games. We don't know if Helldivers is a live to service game, although that was first party. We've got Concord from Firewalk.
That was that was published by PlayStation Studios, but
Yes.
the developer that is making it is not first party.
No.
It is
So
Arrowwood,
Arrowhead is it Arrowhead or
Arrowhead.
Arrowhead or Arrowwood?
I'm thinking of Arrowwood because of the road that's near Charlotte, so it's Arrowhead. Yeah,
Yeah.
Arrowhead.
Yeah.
I really liked the first Helldivers, and I don't remember who made that. I don't know if that was Arrowhead or not, but the
Mhm.
first Helldivers was fun. Had like a top-down perspective isometric. This one appears to be an FPS or not FPS, third-person shooter,
Mhm.
which could be cool because that one had a fun aesthetic and kind of a almost like a what's the satire movie from Paul Verhoeven with the bugs, Starship
Starship
Troopers?
Troopers. Yeah, it literally was
Yeah,
Starship Troopers.
yeah, it had a feel like that, that
Right.
could be fun.
So we have the game Concord from Firewatch.
I have no idea what that is.
Nobody does because all we got was an 80s theme. You know what it reminded me of?
What's that?
Being on the ship, being on the Guardians of the Galaxies. What's the name of their ship? The first one. The
Not
Peter
the
Quill
Milano?
ship. Yes, the
Milano?
Milano. That's
Yeah.
what it reminded me of. It
Hmm.
reminded me of being on the Milano. It reminded me of the Guardians of the Galaxy game from, is it Montreal
Square Enix?
Studios? Yeah, Square Enix.
Yeah.
Montreal?
I
Yeah.
think it might have been Eidos Montreal under Square Enix
So
or whatever.
that's what the game reminded me of. It reminded me of being on the Milano, but we
Hmm.
saw no gameplay. We have no idea what. We just know it's another live service game. Um, I'm gonna be honest with you. The only one that caught my eye is because it was Bungie, is Marathon. That's the only
People
one that I
keep
was like,
talking about that, and I think that's fine. But I wonder how many people actually played the original Marathon when it came out.
old
I never
people,
played it.
because it was on Apple.
Yeah, it was a Mac exclusive. So I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know.
Yeah, which is
I
hilarious.
will say the aesthetic of that looked cool.
Yo, yeah.
And I'm not the first person that said this, but I heard this. It kind of reminded somebody else of like the Mirror's Edge aesthetic of very clean and stark
Hmm.
edges, like you have a white with pops of color.
Hmm.
That stood out to me. That looked interesting.
So I mean, I'm a Destiny fan. I have, like, this is a patches that I
Hmm.
have for Destiny. I posted it on our Instagram page. I bought when I bought my PS4, I did not find a white PS4 because that's what I wanted. I wanted the white the Destiny white PS4 when it came out. I bought the white headset. Destiny was the first game I bought for PS4. Destiny is I can count on my hand how many games I paid full price for. And I didn't pay full price because I had gift cards and stuff like that, but I got Destiny. That was
Hmm.
I paid full price with, extra stuff for that game. I love Destiny when it came out. I have Destiny 2. I haven't played it recently, but I love what Bungie did. So I'm interested in it. And it's the only one I'm interested in because I like Bungie stuff.
Hmm.
And they said they were going to do Destiny for 10 years. Marathon's coming up. It's their new title. I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. So, but out of everything else they showed that was live service, I'm like, okay. But it's not for me. So
Sure.
it's, but I think that was the point of this, is to show those games off, to get you prepared for those games. Now, will it work? I don't know. We know that Microsoft, when you think of ecosystems, when playing multiplayer games, Sony isn't the console for that. Let's be honest. Microsoft,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's tough.
when
I feel like Microsoft definitely had that before with Xbox Live.
mhm,
I feel like Sony's definitely done a good job of because they have so many more units. People will play it wherever.
yeah, but I think so. I think Microsoft was, when you think of live service games and you think of the Xbox ecosystem, the first thing that comes to your mind is what? Halo.
Hmm.
And that's why Sony bought Bungie, so that they could have their own game like a Destiny on their platform. But just like you said, Marathon is coming to what?
Xbox.
So, so I don't know how it's going to work. But
Hmm.
we've talked enough about that. Let's go to a category that I think, in my opinion, was the one that actually had me more excited than anything else: indie titles.
That's interesting that you say that because for me, I love a good indie title. My only problem with that is when I went back and watched the other
Hmm.
Sony showcases,
Yeah.
Sony PlayStation showcases, they did a good job of saying this is a console launch exclusive. This is only coming to PS5 or it's only coming to PlayStation. You didn't really hear that this time because a lot of that stuff is going to be on
Hmm.
other stuff. So it's kind of like it's cool to see it here, but this doesn't get me excited to be in the PlayStation ecosystem because I can get it on Xbox. But I guess it depends on which indie titles you bring up. So which ones you talking about?
So the two there was three that really caught my eye. Um, Sword of the Sea from Giant Squid, from the studio who's brought you Pathless and Journey.
And Abzu.
So I don't know much about Abzu, but I saw the name, but I know what Journey is, and I know Pathless,
Hmm.
Plucky Squire, and Neba. Those three, I was not blown away. Is not the word.
Neva
Never.
was the one with the dog that died.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Forest Wolf.
Yes. From the people that gave us Grease or Gris. I never heard that
Gris.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did enjoy that game.
So those three stood out to me. Plucky Squire, because it just looked so different, going from 2D to 3D, from the different ways that the game looked. That one really stood out to me. And I'm gonna be honest with you, those three games stood out to me more than some of the AAA games.
The interesting thing about the Plucky Squire one, I think that looks cool too, but it reminded me of, and not that it's going to be the same, but do you remember that Drawn to Death game that was on
Yes.
PS4? Might have
Hmm.
been on Xbox too, maybe not. It was done by, I'm pretty sure, David Jaffe,
Hmm.
who was like the original guy, one of the original guys behind like the original OG God of War and Twisted Metal and all that stuff. But
Hmm.
this one has Drawn to Death had a kind of a crude, like a almost not a potty mouth, a toilet humor, something like that. Of like, oh yeah, I'm drawing these weird drawings and stuff, and it's whatever. This one has like a more innocent charm to it, which I think is nice. I do like the idea of you going between the 2D and the 3D. But Plucky Squire looks really good. Published by Devolver. Devolver continues to kill it with publishing independent games like that. But yeah, that looks really nice.
Um, one game, um, I how do I say this? Sword of the Sea looks great. I have no idea what it is. I don't
I just
know.
want to surf in a half pipe on a
Like
sword.
like
That
I
looks
don't know.
cool.
I don't know if you're if you're surfing sand. Like it opened up. Like it just looked clean, and it looked like uh, I don't. It looked like a palate cleanser. Like after just killing people all day. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? Like if you're into like the Call of Duty, or if you're into Dead Space or whatever the game is, if you're into first person FPS, whatever it is, this looks like a palate cleanser to just like a calming effect. It looked like something different, and I really liked it. And those three caught my attention. Ultros, the psychedelic looking
The
game.
game made of nightmares. Yes.
I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not for me. But I was impressed that Sony platformed that game, because that looked like a Steam game, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It looked like a PC game. It looked like a very niche game that you would find on the Steam library, and Sony platformed that in their showcase. And you and I both talked about how Sony and Microsoft more so than Sony, are doing a better job of highlighting indie games, and I
Hmm.
just felt like that's one that I was not expecting to see. Like
Yeah, that was interesting.
that was when I was
Um,
like, really? I was like, all right, cool.
yeah, it kind of. I mean, just based on the little bit that we saw, I'm guessing it's kind of like a Hollow Knight style, Metroidvania, Castlevania style
Hmm.
game. Um, crazy art style. I probably wouldn't play it because it was interesting, but the art kind of,
Took you out of it.
yeah, a little bit because the colors were so garish and jarring against each other. Which I mean, it's that way on purpose, but for me, it's kind of like hard to look at.
It was an LSD game, yeah.
Yeah,
So, were there any other, uh,
independent games.
yeah, indie games that you were like, okay,
It's tough, man, because when you talk about like independent, like what are we qualifying independent? Just games that
so,
aren't made by Sony or
some,
published by
some
Sony, or
something that wasn't like a AAA game.
oh, okay, not AAA.
Yeah,
Man, I'm excited about Cat Quest.
really,
Pirate, Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean. I was like,
really.
yeah, you got a title in there. That's like a fun little 10-hour game. Hopefully, yeah, why not?
Okay.
I would play that. Um,
Then you got Revenant Hill. That was
so
another
I
cat
didn't play
game.
the other game that those people made. And I can't think of what it's called now.
Hold on, let me
Finji
scroll.
Studio is the group that what's it called?
Night in the Woods.
Yeah, I didn't play that one.
Okay.
Um, but this it looks so. Have you read about what Revenant is?
I just know it's a cat game for people who like Stray.
Well,
That's
no, it's a cat game for people who want to be a witch's familiar.
mm,
Yes, You're in the
Cool.
process to become a cat, and you want to become a witch's familiar. So you're out. I think you grow some. You grow what is it called? Like crops and stuff, and do
Mhm.
recipes and stuff to, I guess, get your level up to eventually bond with the witch. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, a 2D stray. Cool. And I know that's not what it is, and I know I'm being like I'm downplaying it, but I was like, okay, cool. I was more into the Plucky Squire. I really was. When I saw that, I was like, oh wow.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, cool. The indie games honestly had me really excited. I really was. I was like, okay. And the reason why they made me excited was I was like, it's something new and something different. And I was in for that.
Okay.
Uh what did you think about the PSVR 2 games?
They were fine. It wasn't enough to be like, oh, I need to go get a PSVR 2.
That's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt. I felt like for a company that just made a new fancy hat that was $550,
Hmm.
you need to show me more than 4 or 5 games to make me buy this, and that didn't do it. Um,
Yeah, because I mean, the games they showed, Resident Evil 4. People love Resident Evil 4.
yes,
Um, I don't know that playing it in VR is going to make me want to jump on it more
but you're not a
than it.
Resident Evil guy because you didn't like the engine anyway.
Well, it's not that I didn't like the engine; it's that the engine made me sick.
Yeah.
Because I think it looks incredible.
Oh, okay. Because I was
Yeah,
like
it
making you
wasn't like
sick.
I thought it looked ugly. It looks
No,
incredible.
no.
I just
It
can't
just
play it because
yeah,
it
it just
makes
didn't
me
make
emotional.
you didn't like the way it made you feel. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you had I played Beat Saber. Go
Uh
ahead.
huh.
What?
Nothing. I just got people
No.
acting
So
foolish.
so I saw Beat Saber and I was like, oh, okay. And then they played Queen and I was like, can't stop me now. And I was like, okay. I was feeling it and I was like, if I had a VR, I would buy that. I'd buy the
See,
Queen.
I already have Beat Saber on the
Yeah.
PSVR 1,
But you ain't got two yet. You ain't
and
got
I
the
don't
white
need
hat.
to.
You ain't
You're
got the
right. I
white
don't
hat,
have the white
son.
hat,
You
and I
need that
won't
white
have it
hat, son.
as long as it's $550. I won't have it.
That's my point. I was like, okay, Beat Saber is cool, but you're like, hey man, I already got this. Arizona Sunshine 2 looked cool, but it wasn't enough for me to buy a hat.
I didn't know. And granted, I don't know every game out there. I keep up with a lot of them. I didn't know there was an Arizona Sunshine 1. I was like, there's a 2. I didn't know
Sir,
that the first one came out.
I don't own a PSVR, but I would expect you to know that because
Oh,
the way
you knew of a game called Arizona
no,
Sunshine?
let me tell you let me back up. I don't own a PSVR, and the reason why I said I would expect you to know that is because everybody who talked about the first one made it seem like it was gangbusters and everybody knew it was a game. So of course they were going to make a sequel. Like why
Hmm.
would we make this? Like Red Dead Redemption. Of course we're going to make a Red Dead Redemption 2. That's the way everybody talked about this game, the sequel. And I'm like, okay, I don't own a VR, so I'm not in this ecosystem.
Okay.
So cool. And you're like, I own one and didn't even know it. I'm like, are you sure? Because
Hmm.
everybody else was like, of course they're going to make this. Why would they
Well,
not? And I'm
I
like,
mean, to be fair, they're more in tune to the ecosystem than I am. I
okay.
have my VR for Tetris Connect,
Hmm.
or Tetris Effect, whatever.
Yeah.
Beat Saber. That's probably about it, really.
So what did you think about now? Are you a Five Nights at
Nope.
Freddy's?
I don't play that foolishness.
See, I wasn't sure.
I don't. I don't. I don't do scary stuff. Why would I play scary games?
I didn't know if that's so here's a confession, and we've talked about this a little bit before. I've actually admitted if on the comments because they asked us did we watch the trailer, and I did watch the trailer for the new movie that's coming out.
Hmm.
I have never watched the game, anybody play the game. I didn't know it was a horror game. I just thought it
Hmm.
was a cool little indie game that caught on, like Among Us. And I was like, then I saw the trailer for the movie. I was like, that's a game? And then I
Yeah.
watched people play the game and I was like, oh, I missed all of that. So
Hmm.
this is the sequel. This is on there. And then the game that I actually thought was interesting only because the voices were cool was Synapses.
Yeah, that is. I think that somebody said it was David Hayter and
Hmm. Old girl who plays
Jennifer Hale.
yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was like, those voices are cool, but I was like, the game doesn't make me want to play it because I was like, it reminded me of a low grade Control, and I was
Hmm.
like, I love Control. I don't care about
Hmm.
this. So it's not that I don't, and that's why I said, if you have a PSVR headset, does this make you say, oh yeah, this was worth my money because now I see these games that they're making for it, or are you like, that's it? Because that's how I feel, and I don't even own it. So more power to you, man. Now, with that being said, let's get to the third parties. So we'll get to the big one at the end because I have some questions. But what caught your eye?
I mean, the biggest pop I got was Metal Gear.
Well, we'll get to that later. We'll get to that one in a
You said
second.
what caught my? That's what caught my eye.
Really, nothing else?
Not really. I mean,
Wow.
and it. What I'm looking at it is what caught my eye that I can only play. Well, let me take that back because that's also going to be on Xbox. But I always associate Metal Gear with PlayStation because that's where I played it first.
Mhm.
But Assassin's Creed Mirage looks really good.
Really?
Um, yeah, I play all the mainline Assassin's Creed games.
See, I thought it was too bright, but that's just me. I wanted to
What
be
do
a
you mean?
little
You
darker.
mean
This I
you
felt
mean
the
like physically bright on
I
the
felt like
screen?
I felt the saturation was a little too hot. I thought they should
Huh?
have brought it down a little bit. It didn't, and maybe because I liked the way Odyssey looked. No, not Odyssey. What's Origins? I like the way Origins looked, and I like the way the first Assassin's Creed looked. Like it was bright, but it wasn't. The saturation wasn't that bright. But that's just me.
Okay.
So
I thought you would have been all over that because it had your girl talking in it.
it did, but I was like, yo, I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't been on Assassin's Creed since Odyssey, so since Origins. So I
Well, this
think,
one is going back to like
mhm,
some of the older Assassin's Creed. So supposedly it is supposed to not be as long as the newer RPG style
that's
Assassin's Creed
100
games.
hours of just grind.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in it, but I need more. I need to see more. I need to know more. But it did catch my attention. But the one that got my attention more so than anything else was Alan Wake 2. I am all for that. From Remedy,
Hmm.
give me inject that into my veins. And it looks like it's great because did you ever play Control?
No, I downloaded it, never played it.
Oh, Control is such an awesome game.
That's what
Con-
I hear.
Control, as you play the game and the DLCs, the Alan Wake and Control universes are connected. And so
Right.
it looks like in this game, you're dealing with both the house and that agency and the FBI. And I thought it was cool as hell to see a black woman
I
as a
thought that
protagonist.
was the
That was
big
cool.
center for me. It's like, oh, you get to play a little bit as a black lady. That's cool. You don't get that in a lot of games, so that's very cool.
You know,
Um,
I was really excited about that and the way it looks. And then the guy who was the face model for Max Payne is in this game, and I don't,
yes.
and I'm wondering, is that Max Payne?
Well, because
And that,
somebody brought up, I was listening to another podcast. I think the guy's name is Sam Lake
it is.
because yeah, Sam Lake. That's the actual
Mhm.
guy
Yeah.
who they modeled it after.
Yes.
But I also heard that the voice actor for Max Payne is voicing this character in the game.
Here's my question:
So people are wondering, is this
is
Max
this Max
Payne?
Payne? Because that would be mind blowing. And the fact of, is this Max Payne? Is this the reason why he left and went down to what was it, Brazil, and
I don't know.
just like shaved his head and was like, "Fuck this shit,"
Hmm.
because I like I so want this to be a thing. I so do, but I'm really interested in Alan Wake. Here's my question for you
Hmm.
before we get off topic. We're the Retrying channel. We're gonna go on some tangents.
Hmm.
Here's a tangent. I'm right now tangent. What do you think about the no physical game, digital copy?
As somebody who always tries to buy physical versions, I think that kind of sucks. But as
Mhm.
somebody who won't buy Alan Wake 2, it doesn't affect me. I know it affects you because I know you want to play this and you like physical games.
I do.
Um, I think their reasoning is interesting. They say it helps cut down on costs, so you can only have to
So this,
pay $60 as opposed to $70.
yep,
I think that's a
yep.
good. I think that's cool.
Now another thing, they said, "Hey, we'll publish it for you." Like let's work out. And I'm trying to remember who it was, but they were like, "Yo, I have a problem with this only in the sense of, and we've talked about this before. For those of you who don't know, you're new to the channel. We both work in media. We both work for a television station. During the pandemic, we did stories on how people could not do either their job or have their kids go to school, and they had to go to major department stores or restaurants and sit in the parking lot or libraries. They had to do mobile hotspots because the internet infrastructure or broadband was not readily available to everybody. So there are rural communities that don't have good broadband. Hell, there are communities that are within the city limits that do not have great broadband.
Mhm.
That's what I hate for this game. That
Sure.
you're limiting people's access to it based on that they have to download this. Whereas I understand a lot of games are broken when they come out or there's a day one patch. I understand all of that. That's just the nature of the business, nature of the beast. I would like to see that go away, but it ain't happening anytime soon. But whenever I hate that we're getting away from that physical copy of a game only because then do you really own it? And I say that, and I don't even own a physical copy of Control. It was
Mhm.
on sale. Everybody talked about it. I bought it, and I bought the Ultimate Edition for like a very low price. I loved it, and I just never got around to buying a physical copy. And I still want a physical copy of Control because I keep certain games that I want to own.
Sure.
Speaking of games, you talked about the big one.
Yeah. The one thing I learned from this, and it was a snarky joke I was going to tweet, but I never did because I was lazy, is the one thing I learned is people don't know the Greek alphabet because
Really?
everybody couldn't figure out what a triangle was. I'm like, that's delta, clearly.
Really?
I saw a lot of people like Metal Gear Solid. What? Why is there a triangle? It's like it's
Why
delta.
are you, sir? Why are you surprised? We worked at a station, and people didn't know Puerto Rico was a part of America.
Yeah, fair enough.
Remember, we did that spot,
Yeah,
help Puerto Rico, and they were like, "Why are you putting these foreigners on our TV?"
yeah,
And we were like, had to explain to people they're Americans.
yeah.
So the Greek alpha, the Greek, I'm not shocked at all.
Hmm. But yeah, I mean, I am so hyped for this. Uh, Metal Gear Solid 3 is my favorite Metal Gear Solid. I love everything about it. I love the atmosphere. I love the mood. That
Really?
song, is it Cynthia Harrell? Is that her name?
I don't know,
I
but
got to look her up. The one who sings Snake Eater.
she teased that she was working on this on Instagram and Twitter, I think. Bamboo, hold on, I'm coming get you in a second.
Yeah, Cynthia Harrell, Snake Eater
Yeah.
lyrics. Yeah.
Um,
We heard just a portion of that.
mhm,
And I think the reason why I really liked it is because I knew the rumor that it was possibly going to be here,
mhm.
and the way the trailer was cut, it was cut so well because at the beginning I had no idea what this like. What is this with the? For a second, I thought some kind of way Sony was going to do its version of Grounded, which is
Mm.
the game where you're like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids type thing, and you have to go out in the forest and do other stuff. I like, oh, we're starting with ants and everything. Like, oh, everything's eating everything. Okay, oh, okay, snake, great. I was so down. Um, I don't know how far away the game is, so I don't necessarily need to see gameplay yet. But the fact that we got screenshots later on Konami's website, I'm like, okay, this looks great.
Interesting. We are on two opposite spectrums on this one.
Okay.
I so when I first saw the trailer, now one it was leaked, not leaked. So I saw that this was coming out through subsequent on social media, and so when I watched the trailer, I didn't know it was Metal Gear Solid.
Hmm.
I thought it was a possible first-person shooter
Okay.
that Sony was like, "Hey, man, we not gonna have Call of Duty." So I thought at first, I thought it was SOCOM. I
Interesting.
was
Okay.
like, I was like, oh, well, y'all did SOCOM. I was like, oh, that's what I thought it was. So as it kept going, I was like, oh, this is Metal Gear Solid. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, this is Metal Gear Solid 3. And I was like, one, I know people are like Metal Gear Solid 3 is the better game. I know a lot of people think that. It is not my favorite game. Metal Gear Solid, the original, the first PS1 game, is my favorite. And my heart will always go to that. I don't know why they did 3.
Some
No,
people think it's because one theory I'm reading is that maybe they're planning to do a bunch of remasters, and they want to start in chronological order this time. So that's like the earliest one in all of them.
I understand. And that I was thinking about that too. And then I was thinking, it's not the most recent, but it's the most, a lot of people think that's the best one out of the older games. So it was the one that they thought, okay, let's do this one. And I was like, okay, my problem with the game, I have a couple of problems. I don't, here's my problems. Number one, I'm cool with them remaking it. I'm like, okay, we did not see gameplay. We've only seen screenshots and a CG generated trailer. My question is, how are you going to remake or remaster a game and not have the original creator attached to it or even so like and the reason why I said it is because I don't trust Konami to make this.
Sure.
We don't know who is making this. Konami says an internal, what's the name of it? An internal.
I think everything I keep saying is development team,
Mhm.
like just a generic title development team, which
I
doesn't mean
have no
anything.
idea what that is. And the last couple
Sure.
of games Konami has made, they have farmed out to other studios to make it for them. The Cowabunga collection is that a shred? Was it Shredder's? Is it Cowabunga or Shredder's Revenge? Which one is that? Which one is Konami?
Shredder's Revenge is different from Cowabunga Collection.
And in either
Cowabunga Collection
Cowabunga,
is Konami stuff. Yeah.
so everything that they've done has been farmed out to somebody else. You don't have Kojima on board, which if you go back and look at all of the games right there at the bottom, Kojima. Um, one is around here somewhere. I've got 4 or 5. They're all over. But these, I wonder how you're going to remake the game. Are you just going to do a straight shot for shot remake of the game, or are you going to change some things and update some things? Because I was one of those people who was like, stop remaking games, and then I played Dead Space, and I was like, whoa, hey man, this is pretty good. Y'all should play this. I'm about to finish it. And I like Dead Space is a 10-12 hour game at max. And I
Hmm.
literally stretched that game out for a month and a half because I just play it just to enjoy it. So I question how they're making it, who's making it, how are you updating it, and how good is it going to look? Because I saw the screenshots and I'm like, I still don't. It's when I saw Dead Space when it originally came out, another game that I paid full price for. Keep track, it's 2. Um, Dead Space is not that old. When I played Dead Space, the remake, it looks amazing.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that CG trailer did not instill confidence in me that it's going to look as amazing as Dead Space did. And that's
Fair enough.
just and I was like, well, okay, hold on. I'm a fan. I love these games. I love Snake. I love Big Boss. Yada yada yada. Anyway, I knew I wasn't crazy when Jeff Keighley. Now, granted, Jeff Keighley is biased just as well as I am. But when Jeff Keighley was like, "Well, who was making this?" and he's plugged in and didn't know, that's when I was like, "Whoa!"
Hmm.
Insert Neil deGrasse Tyson meme right here, and that's where I'm like, I don't know because I don't trust Konami because the last time those people made a game was Metal Gear Solid Survive.
Sure.
And did y'all play that? Because I didn't. And it is cheap as hell on Steam, and I still ain't bought it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and it may come back to bite me in the ass. That's fine. But as of right now, I'm just excited because that trailer gave me a sense of mystery,
Hmm.
just the way the trailer was cut, and the fact that they played just a hint of Snake Eaters. Like in my
Yeah.
mind, I feel like the people behind it, they knew what they were doing. So I'm hoping
Oh
they're
yeah,
going to do that throughout the entire game.
son. I still got this game. Look at that back, man. Ain't a scratch on it. Oh,
Nice.
like I still like, and it's the memory card isn't here. It's in another game. But I remember when I opened this up and I was like, I still got my memory card, son. I was so excited. But anyway, that's the one that really got me. There were a couple other games that were on there. Those were the two games that got me. Alan
Which
Wake
two?
and
Oh, Alan Wake and
Alan
Metal
Wake
Gear.
2 and Metal Gear. So we
Okay.
saw Ghost Runner 2, which I thought was interesting considering Ghost Runner just came out in 2020. Um, I was that was cool. You got Dragon's Dogma from Capcom. I thought that was interesting. I was like, that might tide me over.
I never played the first one, but I know
No,
people liked it,
but I
and
was like,
people are excited for Dragon's Dogma too. So
that might tide me over until Dragon Age comes back. Um, Foam Stars.
nope.
So I was like, y'all basically just redid Splatoon because y'all couldn't get it off of a
No,
Switch.
not redid. They stole but like
I was
I'm
like,
surprised that Nintendo hasn't filed a lawsuit. I mean, granted, it's whatever. Like, man, this really looks like you have the two paint color scheme here, but you got foam instead of paint. Also, the graphics look kind of not great for it to be a PS5 game.
"Mm,
The music, I'm not the first person to say this, but I agree. It definitely does sound like a Persona style game. Like this
mhm."
just looks weird. Like Square Enix, I guess you guys have to have a crappy game every once in a while. Like you release a crappy game once a year, so maybe this will be the crappy one that you release. I don't know.
So with that being said, so Immortals of Avion or Avium, I like the first trailer we reviewed versus this one.
Interesting,
And
because this one
I,
gave us more gameplay.
it did. I'm more like the gameplay. Bamboo, I hear you, but you got to hold on, man. You cool because you could go outside for 2 seconds, then you could come back. And I really ain't
Well,
got time for
I
that.
got a random cat in my face, so
Hey, Stray,
yeah,
Revenant Hill. Ooh, are you trying to be a witch familiar?
I don't know what's happening.
But I love how the animals are attacking right now during this. We
Hmm.
are animal lovers. We're
Yeah,
not. We're not those people. But I thought it was interesting what we didn't see. And we can talk about that when we get towards the end. But I thought it was interesting from Square Enix. We didn't see anything from Final Fantasy Remake Part
Final
Seven,
Fantasy Rebirth,
Rebirth
seven Rebirth. Yeah,
7 Part 2. Is that 7 Part 2?
yeah, sure.
7 Part 2. So we didn't see anything from that, which I thought was interesting. Um, we didn't see anything from Assassin's Creed Red or Jade.
I don't think you're going to see any of that stuff for a while. Because honestly, you those I think those games are I don't know where they are in development. I feel like that would be something you would see more at
Summer's Game Fest.
Ubisoft's well no Ubisoft's event. Ubisoft their press forward or whatever they call it.
Yeah, but
Ubi forward.
isn't that part of their Summer's Game Fest? Isn't is it one is Ubisoft's whatever their game event not during Summerfest?
It might be, yeah.
Okay,
But
um,
I don't feel like you would show it here just because once you I feel like that is a more Ubisoft thing than a Sony thing.
okay, but I know there were probably more third party games. But those are the ones that kind of stood out to me. Talos Principle. I don't. Again, I don't care about film stars, but if that's your thing, cool. Towers of
It could be a big thing. Yes.
Azkaban.
No, sir. That is not Azkaban. Although it's close in title. Yeah.
Towers of Azkaban. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
So
Um,
Grand Blue Fantasy is a fighting game.
yep.
And I guess
Speaking
they
of
said
fighting
now we're
games,
going to
Street
do an
Fighter Two.
RPG. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Street Fighter 6 looks great.
Street Fighter. Street Fighter 2, the sequel, the squeakle.
Wow.
I don't care, man.
Rough.
And that's why I said. That's why I said the third party just didn't get me except for those two games. And I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan, and the Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, whatever you want to call it, didn't get me. Alan Wake 2 made me more excited than Metal Gear Solid. And you know how much I love Metal Gear Solid.
Hmm.
So
Well,
Um,
also to be fair though, you also said it wasn't Metal Gear Solid One.
yeah, it wasn't.
Like so, maybe like if they had remade one, would you be feeling differently?
I don't know because here's the thing: if they had released one the way they just released this trailer, I might have some of the same questions. I'm like, who's making it? I don't see gameplay. It doesn't have Kojima's blessing. It doesn't like because here's the thing. I'm wondering how well this is going to do because there are a lot of people who still have some bad taste in their mouth with Konami with the way that they did Kojima.
Sure.
And we all know if you have been gaming or have been in the gaming world, remember when Kojima couldn't even accept the award. Jeff Keighley was like, "Hey man, Konami told him he couldn't come." And you're like, "Wait, what? What kind of foolishness is this?" So I don't know. I like it could have been one and I could still have the same issues, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I might be feel different if that island if they were going to Shadow Moses.
Sure.
you know. Uh, so let's go to the elephant in the room. First party games. Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Helldivers, and Phantom Zero. Phantom.
That's not first party.
Are you sure? I thought it was first party.
Yeah. No. 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 No.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Let's go look. But let's start with Helldivers. So we talked about it a
Phantom
little bit
Blade
earlier.
Zero was S game. I don't know who S game is, but that ain't owned by Sony.
Are you sure?
I'll look it up right now.
I'm looking up. Let's talk. You pontificate about what you call it?
Which one?
Spider-Man. That's the one that's the big thing we got. Just spent 10 minutes on it.
Uh, I'm excited for Spider-Man. I think what they showed was good. Everything I think Insomniac has done a really good job with nurturing the Spider-Man franchise through Spider-Man, then Miles Morales, and then Spider-Man Remastered. I
Mhm.
enjoyed the three DLC packs that came out for the first Spider-Man game. So everything I saw was great. Um, there was no co-op, so I got that wrong. I still don't know how the switching works, whether you can only switch at certain points between Miles and Peter, or if you can switch on the fly anytime you want. I don't know.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know which one in my mind, I feel like I would want the Grand Theft Auto style where you could switch it anytime you want. But maybe if it's curated to be like, oh, now you switch over to Miles because this is how the story goes. That could be cool too. I leave my judgment, or I leave the judgment up to Insomniac to know whatever type of story they want to deliver. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed the story overall in both those games. So yeah, I think it looks cool. Black Suit Spider Man looks interesting. I didn't like the texture, but I think that was on purpose. He had a gooey texture, which was on purpose. It
Yeah.
just kind of like I didn't like how it looked. But
Mhm.
the actual powers that he had with the tendrils and everything looks awesome. I like that they both have wingsuits now, so you can fly even faster throughout New York, which is going
Mhm.
to be crazy. And since it's only on PS5, they're not held back by PS4, so all that stuff's going to load in super quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks great.
So I love the fact that we got Craven. Craven looks like the comic Craven. I understand the PlayStation Spider Verse has a different. They incorporate different comic elements and MCU elements a little bit. It seems to be. I like the way they're going with this. Craven showing up, like, hey man, let's go hunt New York. Um, I like that he has henchmen. I'm interested to see how you go from Craven's henchman to whatever else happens, which I think they did a very good job of not showing. Because if you remember the original Spider-Man and Miles Morales, you start off fighting the Kingpin's henchmen, and then later on the demons. And then in Miles Morales, you start off fighting escape Rikers convicts, and then you progress and you fight the Tinker's henchmen or compatriots, and then you move on to Roxxon's people. So I think that's interesting because you're probably not going to be just fighting Craven's people. There's going to be another level to this.
Sure.
We didn't. The one thing I thought was amazing, which a lot of people probably didn't hit on like I did, the lizard looked cool. Like it looked like it wasn't like another person like in a lizard suit. The lizard looked like a
Big.
monster.
Yeah.
Yes, it looked big. It looked like you took. Remember in The Fly when Jeff Goldblum tried to transport and then he turned into a fly or whatever and all that. It looked like a man and a lizard were combined and morphed, and then you put on some spinach, you drop some Rick and Morty juice on it, and you got that. It looked cool. The fact that you got that one part where he was shedding, I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm so in. And I think that's what I'm looking for, this new reimagining of some of these characters. We did not, now we know Jane, dude with the finger waves, Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn, we know that he still is lurking out there. We know his son is in a vegetative state. That's the whole reason why we got the whole
Wait.
demon, Mr.
Wait.
Negative.
Norman Osborn?
Norman Osborn. Harry Osborn is in the vegetative state. Sorry.
Yes.
So we have that element that we don't know what's going to happen. We did not see Venom, which I thought was great. Hold that back. We also saw little pictures of people who were like in New York when the guy brought his little tablet. He was like, we can go to New York. And they were like, and then you saw like, okay, so he's going to be one person I did see, Taskmaster.
Yeah.
I did see his little icon. We saw, who was the female cop? I'm trying to remember her name. She became a villain.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I can't remember her name right now. Bam, come here. Sit. Come here. You want a Boston Lager? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Don't report me to PETA unless it gets us page views and subscribers. Then go ahead, do what you got to do. But I'm really interested in this because I think in this game, you notice that Peter was like real gruff. Like you could tell the symbiote, and I'm going to say symbiote. I refuse to say symbiote. I refuse. This is not the channel for that.
Nobody says that.
Oh, dude, I have heard a lot of people. I watched a lot of videos and they've been saying symbiote. And I'm like, stop it. No. Anyway, we didn't see Venom. I think that there is more to be shown. And I think that the game does a very good job in the early games that we saw on PS4 and PS5. They did a very good job of holding things back and letting you experience that as a gamer. And I'm really looking forward to this. And this, like you said, shows off the PS5 in a way that very few games have done so far. So I'm all in. Now, with that being said, we missed a lot of shit.
Yeah. All the go see our other video where we talk about all the first party studios we thought were going to do stuff that didn't show up.
Housemarque, Bend, Naughty Dog, the Amiibos,
Team
Asobi. Who else? There was somebody else. Was another big one we talked about. Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
So I understand why not showing it, because maybe there's another State of Play that's coming out pretty soon. That maybe that's where
State of Players are Sony Showcase.
I think a State of Play. I think a State of Play, a shorter thing, is going to announce some things. I think we're not going to get another showcase this year, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think we're going to get another State of Play, and they're going to drop some stuff. but I don't think we're going to get another showcase this year. We may get one next year, but first party titles, I'm with you. We did not see a lot. And for them to push for live service games, the fact that we didn't see whatever Naughty Dog was working on, and then Naughty Dog afterwards tweeted out, hey, we know we didn't show anything, and they were like, hey, we had to go back to the drawing board on factions. That was a big deal. We know they're working on Ghost of Tsushima 2 because we know there's a movie coming out. That game sold really well. It sold well enough that another studio head, former studio heads from Bend, were criticizing Ghost of Tsushima because they were like, Days Gone did just as well. Like, why could we do a sequel? And so you had that whole controversy. We know Bend is working on a new IP. We have no idea what that is. Housemarque, no idea what they're working on. We know they're working on something. They did Returnal. People love Returnal. Returnal did really well for Sony. There's just a lot of stuff that the first party titles, we have no idea what's coming out next year that is exclusive to Sony past 2023.
Yep. So again, that goes back to my whole thing is I'm not upset with what they showed. I'm upset with who showed it.
Boom. And that is bringing it full circle.
Okay. I was like, where are you going? Great. All right. We've been talking an hour.
I was going to say that's a reach around, but that's not what it really is.
That's like, I don't think that's what you meant to say.
I don't think that's what it is either.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So
man, we got to do the week. What's up?
Hold on. We got to go back. So you gave it a C. C. You said C minus?
I said C or C minus.
C or C minus. I gave it a B minus. I gave it a B minus. After we talked, you still sticking with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still sticking with that. We talked about what would have given it a better grade. But one question. You think Xbox is going to bring it better than this showcase?
I think they have the potential. The Sony did not slam the door the same way the Heat did not slam the door on the Celtics. There's a possibility that Microsoft could bring it. Now, will they bring it? I don't know because they keep stepping on rakes. They like to step on rakes. I would like to see them not do that, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. I think they have a potential because their event is after Sony. Mm-hmm. They have a potential to edit whatever they were going to do. Like, oh, this didn't hit for them as well as they thought they did. So now maybe we'll do something different.
Because you brought up
that,
you brought up a very good point. Microsoft tweeted out immediately after this and was like, "Hey, man, you put all that shit on."
Yeah, a lot of these games you just saw, they'll be on Xbox as well.
And that, honestly, priceless. That's great. That was awesome. Yeah. I love to see that.
Yes, I mean, that's good. We'll see if they have the one-upsmanship because even if they can change stuff, if the stuff's not there, the stuff's not there. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. I really thought this was going to be the haymaker. Sony was like going to smell blood in the water. They were going to come out like Jaws and be like, dun. I really did. And they did okay. And I was just like, this is good. All right, cool. B minus, I have a lot of questions. And to me, the things that I thought everybody else was really high on, I was like, okay, cool. You showed Spider-Man. I was more interested in the indie games. The third-party titles that I was more interested in are not the ones everybody else was talking about. Alan Wake 2. I'm not a real big horror guy, but I really loved Control, and it really got me excited for Alan Wake. So I don't know. I think Microsoft can do it. I'm really rooting for Microsoft for the fact of if Microsoft does well, they push Sony in directions that Sony may not be comfortable going, but have to keep up with Microsoft, a la Game Pass, a la working on their services so that you can play multiplayer games like a Destiny. They wouldn't have done that if we didn't have Microsoft. So in my opinion, they make them better. Mm-hmm. So But back to your original question, what got you through the week? What got you through the week, sir?
Um, Getting ready for the WWE pay-per-view event coming up tonight
Mhm.
when this airs. Crown
Yep.
of Champions, Night of Champions, whatever it is.
Yep.
They're in Jeddah, so that'll be interesting to watch.
In Jeddah.
Yeah, Jeddah.
Spell that.
Jeddah, I think.
Oh, wait. That's a Star Wars planet, sir.
I mean, it's also a Jeddah.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So one extra D.
I was like, sir, that's a Star Wars planet. That's not a real
But
thing.
I mean, it's a city in Saudi Arabia, so
Okay, I was like, okay, George Lucas.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have stole that from Saudi Arabia, history-wise. But okay.
mm,
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. Got a bunch of stuff to watch this weekend in terms of Netflix stuff and Amazon, so I'm going to watch all that.
Okay.
And video game wise, I finished up a game of Civilization 6 as the Americans. I dominated, destroyed everybody like America does. That was fun.
USA, USA, USA.
Yeah. So now I am back on the Ratchet and Clank tip, playing that for PS5.
The funniest thing about Civilization 6, I was watching somebody's channel and they were talking about Civilization and they were like, I will never get tired of conquering the British as a Zulu. And I was just like, that was just like such a smart joke. And I'm like, I wish I was with a bunch of people to be like, did you get this? Do you understand what he just said? And it was like just me and the baby and the dog. And I was like, none of you get this. These jokes are wasted on the two of you. For me, Steam Deck. Been playing Hyper.
Light Drifter.
Yes. And what have I been watching? Oh, basketball. Been watching basketball and Class of 09. I love that show. I really do. Shout out to Hulu and FX for making great television. Oh, real quick. What did you think of Project Q?
Not for me. I'm not a person just leave the system on everywhere and then take this thing and play it over a Wi-Fi network and hopefully the stream is strong enough to play these games. If I wanted to play PlayStation 5 games, I want to play it on my TV and see it in nice 4K and all that and have all the processing power.
Not only that, you can just buy a backbone and just use this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't understand why this is a thing. Like, I don't get me wrong, it looks cool, and unless developers can utilize this like a second screen, or if they're going to incorporate cloud gaming, who is this for? Because it ain't gonna be $100.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I just want to throw it in because we forgot to talk about it, and that was another thing that was coming out in November. And it's just called Project Q. We have no idea what else it does. I did like the earbuds. I if they're $100, 120, maybe 150, I might buy it.
Okay.
I might buy those earbuds. Those look cool as hell, and they came in like a little case. I was like, I'd buy those. But no. Steam Deck, Class of 09, Celtics. You Heat fans, you know who I'm talking to. We'll see you in Boston because we're winning Game 6.
And with that, folks, we're out.
Peace.